call to order the reconvene of the local board of appeals. I guess, would you guys take it away?
We can let anyone in the audience start first.
Come on up. Name and address?
Scott Wiedema, 13990 Berkshire Lane.
All right.
First, I guess I'd like to start by thanking the mayor and the council for extending this 2 weeks for me. I was kind of a little off guard, and I just want to let you guys know that. I appreciate that. Thank you. I would like to talk about my residence at 13990 Berkshire Lane. I've just gone through some information here, and from 2022, I had a market value of $678,000. In 2023, in 1 year, they raised it from $678,000 to $784,000, $106,000 increase, 16%. In 2024, they raised that number another $24,600 to $808,000. 2025, they raised that number another $12,000 to $820,000. In 2024, I came into the city and I got a permit to build a new home on my property. I have 13 and a half acres. Now, to build there, I am only allowed to have one home on that 13 and a half acres. And the way our zoning has gone, the city here has made a complete new zoning that wasn't even heard of 5 years ago, where I can never subdivide. So I got a permit, and the city made me put up a cash bond guaranteeing that when I was done building the new house, that I would tear the other house down. So I put up a cash bond with the city to do that, and that was fair enough to ask for that. So now in January of 2025, the assessor's office came in and they raised my value another $200,000 to $1,022,000. And when I called them back, and I believe it was Mitch that I talked to you when I called you about the value on that.
I believe you talked to an appraiser at new construction, which would be,
Okay.
that was another.
So I called and asked, okay, what's the situation with raising that up $200,000? And he said, well, you've started construction and you have a foundation in, and you have started framing, and we put that value at $201,000. Well, I guess where I have a real issue of that is I cannot have two homes on that property. When I'm done, I have to tear the other one down. So why am I being assessed for two homes when I can only have one? So if they want to assess me the $200,000 for what's on the new house, then maybe they should credit me the $800,000 that they have the existing house. That's going to go away. Does that make sense?
Was the county aware of this?
Yes, I explained it to them.
So we have the value property as of January 2nd of 2025 for what's on the lot. So the original home was still there, living in, and then constructing another home right beside it, which was only partially built, approximately 30%. So we had $150,000 additional improvement amount on that property.
So what you're saying then, on top of the $150,000 for that, you were raising my value on my existing property another $50,000 this year? Is that what you're telling me? Because I did recall the number to be 150, and when I looked at this, it's 200. So I should not be paying taxes on two places if I can only have one.
Go ahead.
For how the assessor's office has to value, we have to value what is on the property as of January 2nd, no matter what. It doesn't matter what the city has for their zoning or any other things. We have to value it at what it's being used as currently and what is there.
But, so I guess I'm going to question that. Because to me, if there's a city ordinance that makes one of those properties effectively worthless, I don't understand why that wouldn't be factored in.
That's state statute. We have to value what is there at that given time.
But
So it might be the city's ordinance to
Yep.
have it removed, But currently, there is 2 homes there, and we have to value it as such. Once that other house gets demolished,
Yep.
our value will change
But
at
is,
next January because of
But is
that.
it-
But state statute requires us to value what is there at any given time. It doesn't matter the zoning of what
Yep.
you guys have, it's what is allowed on there at that time.
but if that value, well, what would you then base the value on since it's not sellable? Since it's effectively worthless in the market?
It depends,
I mean, how would you do a comp on that?
that'd be a very difficult comp to do
Well,
in
okay.
that case, but.
Okay,
But to respond to the other 50,000 that you're wondering, the neighborhood on average went up 5.3%, so.
The neighborhood went up 5.3% because that's how much you raised it. I mean, it just, like I said, I mean, a few years ago, I was valued at 676,000, and not count what they've done this year, I'm valued at 820,000. I mean, in 3 short years, they've raised my values a couple $100,000 more than that. That's, you know,
I will add too, this is the first we're aware of him appealing this property. He told us 3 different times that he was not appealing his personal property, it was just the other property, so we have not viewed it.
This
Which,
one? Okay.
in that case, we could be wrong on some stuff as well, but since he did not allow us to view it, the board cannot make a vote on this property.
this board or your board?
Your board cannot make neither board could, but the county board level couldn't either.
Because the owner didn't let you inspect it?
Correct.
That's
If you're appealing your value,
You have to let the,
yep, so I can read the statute. The board may not make an individual market value adjustment or classification change that would benefit the property if the owner or other people having control over the property have refused the assessor to access or inspect the property and the interior of any buildings or structures as provided. Statute 273.20.
okay, so what I told them when I talked to them on the telephone is till I got my numbers together and figured anything out, I didn't know what I was and wasn't appealing. I also have 3 other PID numbers that I'm not gonna discuss tonight because I've turned that over to a legal team and they are gonna go directly to the county with that.
Scott,
Okay.
I talked to you yesterday and you said you weren't appealing.
You know what, I gave it some thought and I've changed my mind. I'm here tonight, is that my prerogative or not?
Sure, but you should probably let us know. so
Well, you know what, that's why I'm here, and I've thought about it, and I've thought about the fact that I shouldn't be paying tax on the value on both if I can't have both. And that's the opinion, honestly, I was only gonna come tonight just to thank the council and mayor, because the other part, I have decided that I'm going to let my attorneys take care of that. But I had a change of heart today, and I think that's my prerogative, because like I said, I had to put up a bond with the city, a cash bond, guaranteeing I would tear the house down. I think that's fair, and if I can't have both, which is understood from day one, I never questioned that. But, and not only that, but how did they get their value of $150,000 for what was done? Nobody called me and asked me how much I had into it. What did they assume? What did they use? I don't know. I mean, I think they just shot from the hip. In fact, I know they just shot from the hip, and they just took a number that they thought that they could jack my tax or my values up by. They didn't base it on anything. I know that.
How much would you say was done as of January 2nd?
I haven't done the math, but it's irrelevant.
What
How much would you say?
30%
You don't know 30% of what?
total built,
so,
Of the total bill of what? The new house or the old house or?
the new house.
We get everyone's plans from the city, so everything that you submit to the city, we take that, we enter all that information into our system. We have the size of your home, the different number of bedrooms, bathrooms, how much finish, everything in there, and that's what's calculating a value on there. So we're not just pulling this out of thin air. Everything is based off of a CAMA system, a computer automated mass appraisal system that helps us value these proproperties. And
So-
Right, you're
and
saying
we
it was
look at
30%
sales.
complete, which is not the case, but I guess I'm here to ask if there could be some kind of reconsideration on this.
This board cannot make a decision on it. You can take this to the county level, the county board now. If you'd let us through or appealed before today and came through, we could look at it today.
So let me just double check here. You're saying state statute doesn't let us make an adjustment because an inspection wasn't allowed?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so when I was here 2 weeks ago, they asked me, well, do you have any numbers? And I'm like, well, I don't, because like I had explained to you guys last time, I wasn't prepared, I came here. And then ever since I was here 2 weeks ago, I mean, these guys have been calling me steady. No, they didn't say, you know what, if you don't let us come out and look, then you can't appeal. They never said that. They didn't say if we don't come out, then you can't
Actually,
appeal.
I did tell you that day you were here and we were talking.
Well,
I told you that we had to come and view the property in order.
It's kind of
for there to
moot
be any changes made.
because that's a statute. Whether they
Yes.
told it to you or not, it's
Right.
kind of moot. So
It seems like
it sounds like our hands are tied.
it does, and it seems to me like the disconnect is, you guys use permits that have been applied for and things to add value to a property, but the taxes should be based on market value.
Yep.
And that's where this kind of falls apart for me, is that you've got the value of that new material and whatever building on the property is basically zero because it can't be there. If you put it on the market today,
Someone could,
there's no added value.
there is actually though,
For the-
someone could finish that property based on his plans and specs and what's there, so there is some value.
And then it would be valued differently at that time.
And they would have to tear down the other place. That's the
It
whole,
would be value.
I disagree.
Yeah, I don't see how any of that has raised market value if only one house can ultimately be there.
It doesn't matter.
That's not actually what the issue is. The issue is with the state statute, which is something we can't change here. We have to go by what the state statute is.
Well, the state statute is a value, right? So, and
Of any
again, we
improvements on a property.
we get back into a definition of what that value is. And to me, if you can't sell something, the value is blickus.
But how do you prove that if it's not on an open market to show that there's no value? You'd have to have something to prove that there is value or
There
isn't.
you go, you just answered your own question. How do you prove that if it's
Because
not
when
on the
someone's
open
building a new,
market?
when someone's building a new house, there have been times in the past.
Sounds like our hands are tied, Scott. So I don't know where you go from here.
Okay.
You're gonna have to probably work it out with them somehow.
You're gonna have to sign up for County Board of Appeal if you want to continue
And
that.
how does that process work? I mean, is that for payable 2026? I can go ahead
No,
and do that?
it's for the same process. So if you read the notice that you get, you have all the different options. So the first option is the local board. So first you're supposed to call the assessor's office and work with them to set up an appointment to come take a look at your properties, do all that. So that was the very first step. If you did not like what the assessor came up with for numbers at that, you would come to this board here. If you didn't like what this board here did, then you could go to have another appraiser come out and take a look at your property and try to see if you can come up with something with them. If that's still you were in a disagreement with, then you could go to the county board. So another board, just like this board, but at the county level, and you can appeal to them. And if you don't like what they came up with, then your final option is tax court. So currently, right now, we are in the second step because we did a reconvene for you because you didn't do the first part of the process. But now, since you also did not let us through your property, this board cannot help you on that process. And now your next option is to go to the county board.
Okay, so say you had viewed the property, what difference does that make? That you can't have both houses. Now you know that.
But the city the city did allow you to.
Allow me to what?
To have both houses currently. So we have to
Correct,
value
but
it
they're-
as of January 2nd of what is there and what is buildable. And we have had other properties. I have one in Rogers, for instance, that the person was halfway through building it. And they end up losing their business and whatever else and needed to sell the house. And that house actually sold for quite a bit higher of a value than what we had on it. So people do buy properties that are
I
only
understand
partially
that. I
built
understand
on.
that. I understand that. I'm just saying in this case, if somebody did buy it, they would still have to tear down the other house.
And they could do it
And
exactly
there's more
like
value
you're-
in that house right now than there was on January 2nd of the one that's under
I
construction.
think
Well,
then
if we'd been through it, then there was maybe something with that house that's existing that might have changed. Something we didn't have or something that we had on there that wasn't fact. So there could have been some change there. But because we didn't get through it,
You mean
There's
in
no
the existing home?
Yes, yeah.
But you raised the value of that 50,000, so
Well,
I'd say you have that
look at
covered.
Land values in
Dayton,
general went up
But
too.
actually, Dayton, I'm right now on the MLS, and you can look at what properties they're doing, and the increase in Dayton alone, just in the city of Dayton, has been 10.8% from 2024. That's what property values have increased based on the sales in the city of Dayton.
Based
That's a
on
statistic.
what price homes?
All of them. It's
Right, you're
homes
taking an
across the
average
board.
of how many homes have sold for
Homes that-
$800,000
There's a 3% increase.
on the $800,000 houses.
Anything
There you
that's
go.
over
Okay.
Bottom.
I'm not disputing that. The only reason that I'm here today is, like I said, one, I wanted to thank the council for extending this for me. And the other was, I got to thinking about it, and I'm like, I'm paying taxes on both properties when I have to tear one down. So. And then, so do I still have the right then to use my attorney to go after this then, just like I'm gonna on the other property?
You can take it to tax court too if you
So, and I have to file that by April 30th, is that correct?
of next year. You get a whole nother year till you have to file for tax court. For the 2025 assessment for tax payable 2026, you have till April 30th of 2026 to file.
Okay. So,
But
if I have
Tax
to.
court, there is a fee to file as well,
Right,
so there's,
right.
you know,
I understand
that's why there is these other steps that you can go through before that.
But so if this is for 2026, and I have till April of 2026 to appeal that in tax court, why can't we deal with it now without going to court?
Because you missed your step here. You
I
did
think-
not let us through the property.
Yeah, our hands are tied. I think your next step is whatever they will let you deal with in the near term. Otherwise, it sounds like it's court, but it's out of our hands at this point.
Okay.
And that's where I said you can go to the county board level, so just like this level, but it's at the county level, and you can still.
I
appeal and
can
have
do that. When can I do that?
You can sign up right now.
Okay.
You can,
And I can find that online or?
on your statement, you should have a phone number for that as
Okay.
well.
Okay,
It's on that second paper.
thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Sorry.
Mayor and Council. Thank you very much for listening to me. I appreciate it.
Anybody else here for? Come on up. Name and address.
Patrick Brinton, 12161 East French Lake Road. Just in for my yearly appeals process on classification of the property. I would like it to be agriculture, and the assessor and I have been going back for 5 years now?
Yeah.
Back and forth on this state statute for that. Quick rundown, I'm a small business. I grow primarily fruits and vegetables, well, all fruits and vegetables at the moment. Apples are a core crop. I sell to the local farmers markets, and now I'm supplying up into a winery and brewery up by the Princeton area for their hard ciders. The statute in question is for properties under 11 acres, selling intensive market farming. Market farming in the statute is defined as growing one or more fruits or vegetables for market. The back and forth we always have is on intensive, and it feels that the county has the position that every inch has to be planted to qualify as intensive. I do not have every inch planted, but I do have a considerable portion. I have a map I can share if you guys want to see a map.
Yeah. The issue, I think, is, I guess I'm not speaking for the whole board here. I personally agree with your definition of intensive, but they don't, and they can override us. They overrode us last year,
Yeah, I was there.
so.
And I will be back again this year. And that was a 4-4 at the council meeting, and they had other fun and games played beforehand of show up at 1, and they held the hearing at 10, and then we had to re-speak after the issue was resolved.
So even though, are you asking us to reclassify even though you know they're gonna override us? Is that?
The message that they gave me was come back after they were using what was planted for 2023 only in property for 2023. Everything is planted except for the back on, probably, if the assessor gave you the map, it'd be the tree processing area. Everything is planted except for that. It is in play for 2024.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Because this is my first time. I wasn't here before. So how large is your property? How large is your parcel?
I think it's like 9.6. I lose.
9.02 acres is what we have.
Okay.
And how much of it is agricultural use to sell at market? I don't know how you want to phrase that. You know what I'm asking?
Right. I don't have a percentage. It's at least, I would say 50 is very, very safe.
I can add to that.
50%.
I measured today, and I measured about 2 acres in production total out of the 9, which is like 20-some%.
How much is that? Oh, yeah. Okay. How much of that do I lose at the lake shore? How much of that is the unplannable number? Yeah. I'll take your number.
No, we take
I haven't
off
done my
the,
own.
I think it's like 1.3 acres down by the lake, the woods there that we're not requiring you to plant. Take out the processing area, the wetland area, the area around the house and the barn. We just basically measured everything that you gave us initially, and I came up with about 2 acres in production out of the 9. And what we would think, and I do agree with Patrick, he has been adding more and more every year, but we still do not feel that he is up to the intensive use that he needs to be. If you'd be using basically everything but the 1.3 acres on the back, plus an acre for what we consider the house garage in 1 acre area, we would like him to be at 6 or 7 acres in production and not the 2 acres in production. In order for, if he keeps on continuing to add stuff like he has been, he'll get there, and eventually we would agree that he would qualify, but under current circumstances, we do not. And the Department of Revenue also agrees with us on that. But.
And just a clarifying question again, because this is my first go around, so please forgive me.
You're good.
That was it intense? Is that the word that they use? Is that based on a percentage of, like you just told me, like minus the house, minus the barn, minus that? Is that a percentage? Is that the same? Is it lot by lot? Or does that change? I'm just wondering, like, I like clear-cut rules, and they're not always clear-cut. So do you just determine that on a parcel-by-parcel basis, or is that like it has to be over a certain percent?
So technically statute, in order to have ag class, you need 10 or more acres in production. But then they do have, where if you have a vacant chunk of land with no buildings, nothing, and it's just primarily devoted to agricultural, you could have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 acres of a crop on there, and that would also get ag, but that needs to be exclusively used as ag. And in the statute there, it's border to border needs to be. But when you get to the property with a house on it, so anything under 11 acres, you automatically have to take the house garage and that 1 acre off, so you need 10. So Mr. Britton has 9 total, you take away that 1 acre. For that, you take away the other 1.3 down by the water that they would not require to remove trees or anything like that, and you're at what, 6.7 acres that you'd roughly need in production then. So we look at all of it. We're trying to be consistent statewide with how everyone does it. So we consider intensively basically using as much as you possibly can on that property, besides that house garage and 1 acre, and any other wetland is in production. Like I said, Mr. Britton's getting there. He has been adding more and more, but he's still at 2 acres out of the 9. We do not feel that is intensive use.
And that just is strictly land use, right? Like it doesn't matter how closely he planted his asparagus together. Like
Correct.
You're not in there that deep.
No.
You're just saying this is.
No, there's a lot of things that are pretty spaced out in general on it, but we're counting all that. And just to throw it out there, because the statute can be clearly looked at it in multiple different ways from Mr. Brenton's point of view and our point of view. Legislation is currently, has some bills out there trying to add language, so we don't have to deal with this. They're also adding a dollar per acre minimum as well, or not dollar per acre, just an income minimum
revenue
as well
from
on
it.
it. We might know that in a few weeks, even if it does get passed here, but.
Which would be
So-
awesome, because I can qualify for that
And that's not, wouldn't be back looking, that would be as of whenever it's law
Year to
passed.
year.
So next year we may not be here.
Well, we won't be
That
here
would be
anyway.
beautiful. The problem we have is when you look at intensive, what they just described as extensive farming, where you're using wall to wall. Intensive farming by definition is maximizing a high profitable product with the most you can get out per acre. Nowhere in the statute, and the problem we have is intensive isn't defined in the statute. And that's what I'm doing. So yes, I know that I will have to go in front of the county board again. Even if you weigh in my favor, I'm sure they will appeal, and I will be back in there. And then tax court, the issue there is it's probably gonna be a $60,000 bill to wait to try and have this resolved. So I'm trying to stem the tide until we can all get a statute we want
Right.
that works. And I fully understand if they don't want a small property, because anything under 11 that sells in a farmer's market, you don't want a 1 acre property with 4 apple trees selling to a market. I have hundreds of trees.
My question would be, how many years have we been at this game?
I think this is 5.
Here's how I look at this deal. In 5 years, we got 2 acres out of the, I think they'd let you go if you even had 5 or 6. Maybe they, a
Correct.
little bit of grace, you know. And in 5 years, we got 2 acres now, and I just see, to me, you gotta be a little more aggressive and get after it a little harder. That's me. I mean, it's taken 5 years to get 2 acres planted. I'm not sure if we're doing it with a shovel or if we got some equipment out there.
Mostly shovel, but, and it's all fruit tree, and it's highly intensive, and now this is all I am doing, so being more aggressive, I totally understand your point. I think what we need to look at the 2 acres planted, once we start backing everything off, so that's 33% if we're gonna be even, because we back off the 1.3 and the 1 for the house off of the 9 acre plot, now we're down to 6 and some change.
Unfortunately, they don't look at it, it's 9 acres, so.
But they
I
just
hear- I
already
hear what you're
agreed.
saying.
Yeah, but the math is different
Yeah.
than, I do
Right.
not have that number to argue theirs at the moment.
I'm on the side that I would get a little more aggressive, and then they'd stay off your back. And I don't think you want to go down, this is me personally, I don't think you want to go down the revenue avenue, because most of the time what nobody knows don't hurt you.
Agreed.
If you follow what I mean.
But if they post you need to sell this many to be classified as ag, I'm there. I'm already paying the tax on that anyway, so.
I'd buy a tractor and till more up.
Actually, and that was part of it. I
Yeah.
cleared 4 acres the first year to be able to do anything. So then it's digging, because I'm not tilling and putting something in, you gotta go in and dig all the roots and stumps, which takes time.
Okay.
Understood.
Okay, so
So where do we go?
where do we go? I'd be okay changing the classification, but where are you guys at?
I'm okay changing the classification. It's just our votes are gonna get overruled, so
Yeah.
Well,
It's, okay,
A
step
step.
in the process.
it's a step in the process, so.
That's fine, I guess, for me, you know you're going to be taking this to the county and you know where they're at on it. If that's something you want to pursue, I don't want to stop you.
okay, so we would need a motion to change classification
Yep.
to ag.
So moved.
Okay. Need a second?
A second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
Motion carries 4-1. So we probably won't see you next year, because I suspect we're not going to be in the limits board next year. But
Hopefully we'll have a new statute, we won't have to
yeah.
mess with it.
Okay. Anybody else here for Appeals. All right, so I think.
And then, you had some to read in, correct?
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
Other than that, we got 5 properties to read in. PID 2312022110032 was originally assessed at $550,800. We're recommending a reduction down to $512,300. PID 3012022516014 is a mobile home in Dayton, valued at $13,700, recommending a reduction down to $6,000. PID 3312022410011 was originally assessed at $453,800. We're recommending a reduction down to $415,100. And then our industrial appraiser wanted me to read in 2 properties. 2512023410010 was originally assessed at $1,862,000. We are recommending a reduction down to $1,513,000. And finally, 2512023410013 was originally assessed at $1,460,000. We are recommending a reduction down to $1,187,000. That's all I have.
Do you know what those last 2, why they came down so significantly?
Yeah, so the explanation for those 2 parcels are the Pine Point Products Lumberyard. This reduction is part of a multi-year tax court settlement.
Oh,
Mr. Talbot provided an appraisal which we felt warranted a reduction to these values, and the board approving the values saves tax court filing fees.
okay. I need a motion and a second for those, right? Or a motion, okay, need a motion and a second.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any more discussion on those? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. And with that, I think we can close. Okay. We will, if there are no objections, we will adjourn the local Board of Appeals.